How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the Enclave. So, I decided it was probably a good idea to lighten the mood after the last video, since it's taken me the better part of an hour to cheer up myself after recording it. So, I figured, let me tell two of the funnier, well, I guess the first ones I could think of, funnier shooting range stories that I have. The first one I have titled The Security Guard Who Didn't Read the Assignment. And the second one is More Money Than Brains or Passion. So, I guess without any further ado, let us try and lighten the mood. Let's get into the intro and then the stories. Two, one. Okay, so we are back. So, first off, the security guard who didn't read the assignment. So, back a few years ago when I was doing the security training, I did basically all of those books at once. So, I did the rifle, shotgun, handgun, obviously. Went in to go and do my assessments. Now, one of the reasons I do this and enjoy doing this is I learned those books pretty much backwards, inside, outside. I learned the assessment criteria inside, outside. I knew the pass-fails. I knew the amount of questions, everything, backwards, forwards, out of my head. I knew what to wear. I knew what to bring. I knew what we were going to be tested on. All of these things I made sure of. And by the looks of things, there's a lot of people who feel the same since they're coming to watch my videos before they go and do their tests and things. So, really cool to see that there are potentially less people like the subject of our story. But anyways, so we get into the classroom. Time to do some practice drills and things with the instructor. And it's all going great. Until the very first step. So we were told, and it says in the books I believe, that you need a belt. You do not necessarily need a gun belt, but you need a belt on your pants so that the paddle holster actually has something to hold on to. They don't work that great with just soft floppy pants. You do preferably need some form of a belt. Like I say, it doesn't need to be stiff. It just needs to restrict the movement of the holster. Anyways. So, step one. Hey, please put the holster on your belts. No problem. Boop. Holster on the belt. Look over to Mr. Security Guard, who's the other person being assessed with me on that day. He was just doing the handgun one. And no belt. Okay. So already the instructor, quite understandably, is not too pleased because you were told two things. Bring a belt and bring yourself. So if you got one of those wrong, you clearly weren't going to make the assessment. If you got the other one wrong, you just couldn't wear a belt. Anyways, so make a plan. And if I'm not mistaken, the dude had to go and buy a belt. Like, it was attached to a shopping center. So I'm pretty sure the dude went to go buy like a 100 rand belt from Mr. Price or something. Because anyways, while this is all happening, I'm carrying on with my drills, no problem. Anyways, guy gets back, and I've always had the opinion that not everything in life is for everyone. Not everyone should skydive. Not everyone should drive fast cars. Not everyone should be an airline pilot, you know? There are certain people out there with certain personalities, certain skill sets, or certain lack of skill sets who probably shouldn't do certain things in life. And that's okay, because most likely there's something else that you're really good at, and you should probably go and pursue that anyways. There are certain people who should just not be around firearms. Sadly, this gentleman appeared to be one of them. The guy didn't know the muzzle of the firearm from his elbow, he didn't know the trigger from his poop snoot, and he didn't know the holster from a hole in the ground, even though he just put the thing on. And for those of you who think I'm being a bit of a bully, or I'm like, oh, you know, he's a newbie, these are intermediate courses. I should have grabbed this before the video, that's my mistake. So if you look on the back of this book, those are beginner courses, those are intermediate courses and or business courses, these are personal courses, these are tactical, which is the most advanced version of the training courses. You then move on to these, which are the instructor courses. So the ability to teach all of this. Okay. So this gentleman had skipped all of this and decided to go straight into this, which I wouldn't recommend it. I don't really make much money off of selling these things right now, so I'm just gonna say, biases aside, do not do these courses if you have not done these courses. Do not do these courses unless you have done all of these courses. And please, for the love of God, do not attempt to do the instructor courses if you have not done all of those courses. Because that's how we get people like the people who I sadly had to talk about in my last video. I feel like they might have just gone straight for this book, and that's not good enough, in my opinion. So anyways, this gentleman, like I say, was holding the class back, to put it nicely. It got to the point where the instructor, who I will say is one of the nicest people with a firearm that I've ever met, and everyone with a firearm seems to be nicer people. I don't know, maybe it's something about everyone having guns in that particular zone, but everyone seems to be on their nicest behavior. It's quite cool. This guy is a freaking gentleman and a scholar. He is the nicest guy you will probably ever meet around guns, like I say. And it was getting to him. You could see by the time he left him with the assistant trainer and took me through to actually go and complete my assessments and get the hell out of there, he was pretty unhappy. And I'm not going to say what he said, but we shared words, we shared a couple laughs on the range, because sadly, he will pass. He will get his qualification, because the testing standards are not that difficult, they're not that high. But we both chuckled at the fact that this guy is going to be protecting someone's business, or property, or investments, or whatever valuable. And quite frankly, without a couple years of training, guidance, education, this man really should not be left alone with a firearm, and certainly should not be looking out for anyone else's property, lives, etc., with the firearm that he ends up getting for his job. Anyways, that ended up being a good laugh. I thought it was pretty funny because, like I say, I was obsessed with studying. I went in knowing everything, knowing exactly what was going to be asked, exactly what I would say, exactly what I would do. I did dry fire drills with this to timing in my home for about 2 days, 3 days before the assessment, because I was terrified that I wouldn't be able to do the timed assessments. So I went out, I bought CO2 canisters, I ended up finding my BBs, all those sort of things, and I trained. I could have just gone to a shooting range, but I think I ended up doing it at night with the wife. And yeah, anyways, I think about it post fact, I should have just gone to a shooting range, but I figured I had the tools, might as well. Anyways, so somewhere out there right now, there's a security guard who doesn't know his holster from a hole in the ground, and that it's 90% hilarious and 10% terrifying. Anyways, I knew this would cheer me up. Hopefully it's cheering you up if you've just come from the last video. I'm actually going to upload these like right next to each other because I feel like this will be a good palate cleanser after having to go through that emotional turmoil. Anyways, maybe I took it a little bit more personally than people watching it will because I've experienced things like that. But anyways. So, story number 2. The man with more money than brains. Or passion. So, my wife and I go into the shooting range where I have my membership, where I do club shoots and things like that, which is Waterfall Arms. And we basically walk onto the empty range. It's just us there. And the range officer. Great guy. Anyways. God, I'm already laughing. Okay, so we finished signing in. We're busy talking to him, finding out how things are going, catching up, etc. And a guy walks in who was shooting just before we walked in, basically. He'd walked out and then came back into the range. So we were basically unpacking, getting everything set up, turning on the wife's sight and all those sort of fun things. And end up overhearing probably the funniest conversation I've ever overheard on a gun range. So, the gentleman says to the range officer, I've just gotten my Glock 19 back from the gunsmith. I had the slide mold for a Trigicon RMR. I also just received my Trigicon RMR. Would it be possible for you to mount the sight for me? Now at this point already, I'm thinking one of the most fun things that I did after getting this beautiful thing was mounting the holosun on it. I had fun with that. I enjoyed that. Chair squeaking on the desk. It was a good time for me, you know. Doing anything with this is a good time for me. I load all the ammo for this firearm. Many of you don't know this because I haven't said it, but the first round ever fired from this gun was the first round that I ever produced. Literally. It was first in the box, first in the magazine, first fired. It was a little bit of a passion project for me, that. And subsequently, every round that has gone through this thing has been made by me. I think there's maybe a box or two of factory ammo, but other than that, I've put more than 1,000 rounds of my own ammo through that firearm because it's a passion for me. It's why I do this. Anyways, so I can sort of get over that. Okay, you want your site professionally mounted. You've paid for like a 30 grand site. Maybe you haven't touched a screwdriver in 25 years. Maybe you've never touched a screwdriver. So I can sort of understand that. Cool, I'll let that slide. You want someone to professionally Loctite mount your site, etc. I am going to do a video on how to do that yourself so you don't have to pay someone 2,000 Rand to do it for you. But anyways, that I can let slide. What he said next both shook me to my core and had me holding my face so that if by any chance the laughter escaped, maybe I could contain it. He then said, so cool, once you guys have mounted it, will you be able to zero it for me? And I can't remember what else he said. He wanted something else. He wanted it zeroed. Oh, no. Sorry. This was what he wanted. He didn't receive his firearm. It was finished at the gunsmith. He wanted them to do the transfer of the firearm, mount the sight with the sight that he purchased there, and then zero it for him. You couldn't go and pick your firearm up from the gunsmith, drop it off that day, because it was all done. Then they literally could have mounted it there and then, and you could have zeroed it yourself. No. I come to find out this man has no intention of ever zeroing his sight. He will return to Waterfall every 6 months to a year, or whenever I guess he feels his zero is out, and he will then get them to re-zero the sight for him. Now, I sort of agree with the range officer. If you're going to bring me a fully modified firearm with a really nice sight on it, no problem. I'll shoot it for you, zero it, because funny thing, you can't really zero a handgun sight for someone else. The way you hold it will be different. The way you put it in front of your eye will be different. Which dominant eye may be different. There are a lot of factors that go into zeroing, in particular a handgun sight, that I honestly would not leave up to someone else. And nor should you. You should always zero your sight for your grip, your eyes, etc. That's just how I feel about things. So this is friggin' hilarious to me. And the wife, and apparently the range instructor, because like when this dude left, we had a good chuckle. And basically, like I say, he just said, if I get the chance to shoot a really nice gun that's been quite heavily modified with a really good sight, I'm going to enjoy shooting it all day long. But we all sort of agreed that that zero is certainly, most likely, not going to be right for that dude. But whatever. Anyway, the reason the story is titled More Money Than Brains or Passion is because this man clearly knew less than nothing about firearms. You bought a Glock 19, but you didn't buy a Glock 19 MOS. It's not because you're cheap, because you're willing to pay for people to do everything for you, and also you bought a Trigicon RMR. That's like a 25 plus grand sight. So, this is an expensive Hollow Sun at 8. I could buy like 3 of these for the price of that sight that he had on that Glock. So you bought a Glock that wasn't optics ready, just to have its slide altered in a way that I personally think makes the gun lesser than, because you can never mount anything else than a Vortex RMR. If that were to break and he were to decide, okay, screw this thing, I'm getting a Hollow Sun, he has to try and get that slide remilled, or buy a new slide, or try and get that slide milled for the Glock optics plates. He could potentially do that, but it's all going to depend on what blacksmithing, what gunsmithing has had to be done to mill that for an RMR. If you've cut into certain places that you now can't cut into again, sorry, buy a new slide for your Glock. And because of where we live in South Africa, having the slide be a serial numbered part, that means you're going to have to apply for a new license. Enjoy your day, sir. So literally, from the choice of firearm to the choice of sight, which, I mean, that's cool. You went online, you saw the most expensive sight and you bought it. Yeah. I really hope you and I don't ever end up in a gunfight for whatever reason. Because I could tell you now, my broke booty that is willing to train, zero, do everything with my firearm is gonna beat your rich ass who decided to pay everyone to do everything on his gun. And I can guarantee you that pretty much anyone watching my videos will outshoot you. I will put money on that. In fact, if I could ever find you again, I would put any one of my viewers up against you. There was a woman, 49-year-old woman, who commented on one of my videos recently. I would put her against you without even a fear of risking anything. I would put 20 grand on the fact that she outshoots that guy with whatever gun you give her. Because she was a hard worker. She was willing to come and watch my videos to get an extra education over and above what the books provided. And she seems to have more brains than money. And I don't know how rich she is. She could be a millionaire. But I could tell you now, she's still got more brains than money. And yeah, that's the two stories that I have for now. If you guys enjoy my stories, we'll definitely have more. I will try and find some funnier ones that I can think of. But honestly, I think the dude with more money than brains and passion is probably one of the funniest stories to tell people who love guns. Because for people who really love guns, you couldn't imagine not picking that thing up from the gunsmith. That in itself must be so cool. Taking it, mounting a sight on it. Fine, maybe you don't have the tools. Maybe you want to take it somewhere to get it professionally done. Like I say, I can get past that. But I would be standing there watching every step of the way. I'd be like, yo man, do you mind if I click on the torque screwdriver? Because that'd be pretty cool. Like, I don't want to be a part of it. And then to see someone like this who just couldn't care, has zero interest in the firearm that will be defending his life, because this was a personal protection firearm. I just find that hilarious. These are the people who tell you in 20 years, oh yeah, I carry a 1911. Yeah, here it is. Never been shot. Huh? You proud of the fact that you've never shot your firearm in 20 years? And I know people like this, so don't tell me, oh, it'll never happen. No, I can tell you, there are people with safe queens as everyday carry firearms. And I won't lie, I do my damnedest to look after this thing. During the recording of this video, I see that I've worn the paint on the optics plate here, and that kind of bothers me a little bit because this is a little bit of a safe queen that I carry. But I've damaged the mag well, I've damaged the paint from holstering it and unholstering it and all those sort of things. I don't really care anymore. But I can still tell you that I love to shoot that thing. I would never consider keeping it as a safe queen. Like, I don't know. I just love firearms. Maybe I'm too passionate about firearms. But anyway, as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope it's lightened your mood. If you did enjoy, please like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things. If you got more time, please check out another video here on the end. And as always, peace out.